everyone. How are you?
Hi there.
I know we are the last session before the party. I promise you our content is exciting and we have a lot of action-packed demos. I'm Anjali Chaudhary and I lead product for Agent Flows. Along with me, I have two amazing co-presenters. We have Christine Jeffson, who's the Director of Product Management and Intelligent Automations. And we have a special guest, Mark Preem from NN Group. So let's get started. Yeah. So what do y'all think will take to drive 10% productivity? Like 1.1x the productivity of your organization. You can do this with brute force, right? You can tell your employees to work harder. You can squeeze the supply chain management. You can build some layers of emails and processes and such to drive 10% productivity. But how do you make that 10% productivity into 10x productivity? And that is what is on all of our minds as we make that shift to become AI-first organizations. There's a common thread amongst all of us here today. We all want to be AI leaders, and we want to be the change agents within our companies to become those AI-first organizations. Either that, or we want to work for AI-first organizations, right? And the difference between the companies that will be left behind and AI-first companies is that they think in orders of magnitude differently. At the core of it all, us humans are going to be supported by our personal assistants in copilots and are going to be supported by multiple agents that are going to be doing mundane work. More importantly, as we progress, they're going to be doing important work for us autonomously or bringing us in the loop as and when they need us. And as we think about the levels of AI transformation for those companies, most of us are in level 1 already. We use Copilot, we use ChatGPT, we use Claude, and it's amazing how much more productive we'll be with our email writing, how much more beautiful do they look, our documents and presentations, and even some of the automations that we are driving in our organization. It's fantastic, the level of assistance that we're getting with this level 1. And we're moving to level 2, right? Where we have a team of agents working for us, on behalf of us, and are going to be managed by us and working autonomously. And the future is going to be teams of humans working with teams of agents, and us being able to orchestrate across, like, 2 of us or 4 of us are going to be able to utilize the same agents, and back and forth, they're going to be able to talk to us as and when they need our help. And that is what is going to drive that 10x productivity, that level 3, where we are enabling in our AI-first organizations how to work as teams of productive humans with a team of productive agents. So at the center of it all is Microsoft's agent platform, which is Microsoft Copilot Studio. Here you come to build agents from scratch. You can customize out-of-box agents, and you can publish your own agents within the agent store in Copilot. And this is where you can also manage the agents. How did they perform? What did they do when they got stuck? What is the monitoring and logs? How much actual ROI did I get out of all of these agents that I have deployed in my organization? And of course, some of these agents are going to be published to all of the productivity makers in M365 Copilot. And all of these agents are using that backing models that we get in Azure AI Foundry. Whether these are models just that someone has picked up from and using vanilla, customized models, or your own custom models as well. So that is the beauty of the Microsoft stack, which caters, as you've heard in the keynotes and other sessions as well, where it caters to all levels of personas, and you're able to use that same stack across your company. So let's talk about agentic automations in our agent platform for a second. Any of these scenarios resonate with you? Yeah? Customer service, it's a big, big scenario, yeah? Even at Microsoft, through use of automations and agentic automations, we have seen an increase of 12% in productivity and cost savings for our customer service team. Within Microsoft, all of us, when we need as employees support for leave and benefits and policies around that, we talk to an Ask HR bot in the company. Similarly for sales, right, from marketing, lead generation, to getting an account that a salesperson needs to follow up on, to closing it, all of those processes are also driven through agents and automation. So within the Copilot Studio stack, we're just going to do like a quick run of the capabilities, and that's what we are going to show you live, all of it. So number one is just autonomous agents, right? You've heard about it since Monday morning. These are just agents that act independently, will loop folks in if they get stuck. They're able to dynamically reason, dynamically orchestrate actions. They have memory and context awareness and knowledge sources to refer to understand policies, and are able to execute according to policies and guardrails that are set up by the maker of these agents. We have agent flows, again, under the umbrella of the agent platform. Agent flows, where we can build and automate workflows. Autonomous agents are great, right? They can perform in a very agile manner. But for some specific processes, you want that predictability of actions. And that is where agent flows really shine. An example that a customer is doing is, they have like this tax agent for the overall tax processes. But when they talk about tax corrections specifically, they want that process to be so predictable, because who wants to get in trouble with the IRS, right? Like, no, not us. So that's where, to be able to predictably understand and orchestrate the next set of actions, agent flows is something that really shines. Next is human in the loop in agent flows. There are approvals. We have multi-stage approvals. So, if I'm unable to approve something, it goes to my manager and so on and so forth. Multi-stage approvals. Delegation. If I'm out of office, it goes to someone else. If I don't respond in time, if after 7 days I get a reminder. And also intelligence built into these approvals. How do we use the AI models, those powerful AI models, to make some of those decisions before it loops me in, even though it requires an approval? We'll look at this in the demo too. And finally, computer use. This is just one of the shining glories of Copilot Studio. There is there are apps with APIs, and there is like the old way to do like bots and UI automation. But computer use, we believe, is that future of how you're going to be able to use and navigate through different applications, through your browser, through your various systems on your desktop. And we're going to show you that as well. So, who here hasn't heard of Philips? Trick question. Everyone's heard of Philips. This company has been a pioneer for 130 years, right? Like a lot of us, like in our childhood, we would hear about Philips. It is a great honor to showcase their scenario to you today. They are a global healthcare technology company that looks right from patient care and diagnostic care to personal healthcare. The reason they've been a pioneer in this industry for such a long time is because they're always at the helm of the changes and the innovations that are coming out of the technology stack. And that's true for AI and agents as well. So we are going to look at their accounts receivable process that they have automated through Copilot Studio. And just from this accounts receivable process, as you can imagine, it's a global healthcare tech. They provide goods and services to various customers and clients across the world. And the number of outstanding invoices that Philips generates is massive. And from that outstanding invoices that runs into billions and tens of billions of dollars, that estimated saving of 7% is massive. When people dispute these invoices, the time to resolution is expected to be reduced to 10% of what it is right now, which is just really massive. So we'll walk through this entire scenario, and I'll show that to you right now. So here I am in the Copilot Studio product, and I'm going to navigate to the Flows tab. So here in the Flows tab, I'm going to see all of the agent flows that I have curated here, or the ones that are associated with agents. And I really hope the network doesn't fail me on the first page of my demo, but I know it's going to come through. Who's excited? I'm nervous. I don't know what's going on. I have filler material for a lot of steps, but not here. So, you're going to rely on my jokes. There we go. Come on, Flows. So here we talked about the Copilot Studio and the realm. You see the Agents tab on the left-hand side, and you see the Flows tab. So here, I have a bunch of flows curated here, associated with agents, shared with me. And what I can do is I can just create, through a starter prompt. Let's take a closer look. So I'm saying on demand, list all the customers with overdue or upcoming invoices from Dataverse. And for each of these, draft an email to the customer to let them know about the status of their invoice. So it's just a starter prompt that I want to automate to send an outbound email to all of these customers. I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And what we are doing here is, in the back end, what the Agent Flows team has done here is we send this prompt to backing language models, both large language models as well as small language models, which have been fine-tuned. And these language models come back with responses of what that flow definition should look like. So based on the number of responses, we show those different versions to the maker of this automation. So here I have one version, I have a second version that I see here too. Now I can continue to add more details with Copilot. If I don't like this response, I can go regenerate it, or I can simply say keep it and continue, and that's what I'm going to do here. And set up my connections, click create. So here I'm launched into the designer, right, with this skeleton starter flow. I can now continue to add actions by using Copilot or manually add actions and such. Let's fast forward. I've already built out this flow for us. So here's the flow. And I'm retrieving the list of customers with invoices. I go ahead, retrieve additional records from a different table. I filter the overdue invoices, credit memos, the invoices that are due soon, and I have to draft an email to the customer. Now, before I draft that email to the customer, I have added an AI action. What this AI action does, it analyzes all of the accounts for these overdue invoices, et cetera, and proposes the right email content. So let's take a deeper look into this AI action. So when I click edit, I'm launched into the prompt. And here, let's see what we've said. So we've said that, hey, create an email in the preferred language of the customer, explaining to them the situation, right? We prompt engineer it with formal, structured, et cetera, about overdue invoices, about open credit memos, ask them if they want it deducted from the next payment, invoices that are due soon, ask them if they're able to pay on time or if they need additional time or what's happening. And I've also specified here that, hey, I would prefer a table format for all of these. So I've added some sample data in here, and I can go ahead and select the reasoning model too. So right now here I have the large language models as well as the O1 reasoning model. And of course, I can use any of the Azure AI Foundry models, including my own custom model. I'm going to go ahead and click test. And this is where the response will come from my choice of the GPT-4o model. And what we'll see here is that from this sample data, it's like nicely structured for overdue invoices, for open credit memos and such. And the language super nice too, right? Like we would appreciate it. This prompt looks pretty solid to me. Like, this will work. Now let's go ahead and test the overall flow as well, along with this manual action. So I'm gonna go ahead and click test. And since this is an on-demand one, all I need to do is click the manual test and click on run flow. So what this does is, this is just testing. I've gotten a warning, which I'm gonna ignore for now. And looks like, the test run picked it up, the trigger itself, and it's discovered that there are about 6 accounts that are in that table and have that criteria. And it's going to go ahead and pick up all of these results before sending it to the AI prompt to create that reasoning underneath on what are the overdue invoices, structuring that table, and drafting an email for me. It's complete, and all of the steps went through. Now let's go to take a look at my email itself. So here I'm going to come into my drafts folder, and sure enough, I see that there are about 6 emails that were created in the draft. Let's take a look at a couple of these. So, for Contoso, to your customer, these are the overdue invoices, etc. Based on the preferred language, it's also managed to create emails in Spanish, and it's created emails in Italian as well for these various customers, depending on the preferred language. So isn't this awesome? Like, I created an end-to-end flow to go ping all of the customers with overdue invoices and the ones that are coming up soon with that tailored messaging, with a structured email that honestly would take me more than 15 minutes to put this together, but I didn't have to do much. We built this flow end to end very, very quickly, all in natural language, and used the intelligence of packing language and reasoning models. So I've sent these. I've sent these emails out. Now customers are going to start responding to it. What do I do now? So for that, Philips has the accounts receivable agent. Here we are back in the Copilot Studio, and I'm going to go into the Agents tab. Here is the accounts receivable agent. Let's take a look at what's in this agent. So in this agent, we have some instructions. And we'll take a look at the instructions. So when a customer replies to these requests for invoice payment, understand the response. If they ask for a copy of invoice, send them a copy. If they declare an intent to pay, save a promise to pay. If they state disagreements, register a dispute. And if they provide any other information, save a memo. And then, of course, send the email, we prompt engineer it to make it formal and structured. Don't promise anything about a dispute. Don't say it's okay to pay that later. We've, made sure the agent acts in the right way. And what are these things? What are they really, enabled by? So if you go into tools, here we see that all of these are actually just agent flows that you and I just created as a standalone flow. But these agent flows can be associated with agents as well. And when the agent gets the trigger for the email, it's able to execute specific flows depending on the context. So let's take a look at this register dispute flow. Here we have the register dispute flow, and it's pretty simple. So when the accounts receivable agent calls me, start and wait for an approval, and if it's approved, send it back to the agent. If not, send an email to the customer about why their dispute isn't approved. So when we go into this advanced approval and click edit, here's what the advanced approval looks like. And the first step here is about a new intelligent approval. And we are using a backing language model to also take that first step of the approval. Like an approval step, traditionally is all about bringing a human in the loop. And then, with certain conditions, bringing another human and another human. But what if we can front load or somewhere in the middle, have that load shared with AI and with intelligence? And that is what intelligent approvals is all about. So here I've provided, again, surprise, surprise, in natural language, another prompt, where I specify, hey, here is the criteria for this approval. Like AI, you decide if the invoice is less than $50,000, like I know it's a large amount, but for the sake of this demo, if the invoice is less than $50,000, AI, you approve or reject, whatever, and only loop me in when the invoice is a little higher. So if the invoice is less than $50,000, the due date is not more than 4 months, et cetera, it's not a premium customer, the dispute reason is not due to quality of service. And again, I'm able to pick the language model from reasoning to large language models. So I'm going to say test, and we will get the decision criteria from the AI. So here, based on the sample data that I provided, it says, yes, this is approved based on the criteria. What's more is, here I can also specify the next step based on the decision. So if it's approved, then we can end this flow right here. It's done, it's approved. The dispute is registered. But if rejected, actually go to the invoice dispute step within the flow. If it fails, continue. And here is where we have that conditional logic. So from here, if the invoice is rejected, straight off go to the invoice dispute. And this approval just continues to become what we call molecular actions. These are not atomic actions where you have to go by one. This is all in one step in an agent flow that can be called from an agent. So this is one of the new capabilities that is going to be in preview in June. And but the advanced steps, et cetera, you can already use in the product. One last thing that I wanted to show you. So what I wanted to show you is, we are using intelligence and giving you the power of intelligence, obviously, within the product. But within Copilot, we are continually upgrading the logic behind as well in terms of the language models that we're using. Now, what I've just said, hey, after the approval step, send the approval status also in an email to the internal dispute management team. We just want to log that response on what is it that the intelligent approval step did. And it's able to just simply, it added another email step for me. And now I can go fill parameters all through Copilot, all in natural language without ever having to go into the depths of the bits and bytes within the designer. So, our last step here was the intelligent approval said that yes, the dispute is approved. It's okay for the dispute to go through. But now what if the dispute has to be logged into a web app that has no APIs? And that's why we can't touch it through this automation. And I'm going to hand it over to Christy to show us how we can make that happen too through computer use.
Thank you, Anjali. So as Anjali showed, we've just gone through how you can use agents and agent flows to do the dispute approval process. Now, as she said, we really want to get now all of these disputes that have been approved back into the application. And oops. So here's Philips' application that they have. Like she said, it doesn't have APIs. It's a very common challenge within enterprises to have applications that do not have APIs. So what we're going to do is I'll show you how you can use computer use to automate these sorts of web apps, desktop apps that don't have APIs. So computer use is a new capability within Copilot Studio in Frontier today. The thing with computer use is that it uses the computer using agents model. What does that mean? It means it has the ability to reason while it's executing. And how does this actually affect you? Why is that important? It's important because, as you know, desktop applications, web applications, the experience changes all the time. It's very hard to maintain automations. But it has the ability to dynamically adapt to these changes. It overcomes these traditional challenges we've had in UI automation to date. And additionally, the ability to create these computer use tools is very easy. You only need to create a natural language prompt, putting the instructions as if you were just telling another colleague, friend, what you want it to do. So let's take a look. So here I have the agent that Anjali's just shown you. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a computer use tool for us. So the first step in creating the tool is that right now what it's doing, it is making a connection to the machine that I have set up. I already set one up that will run the computer use. So once I have that, it's now just adding this tool so I can create it. I'm going to put in the name, the description that is used by the orchestrator, and I will tell it what I need it to do. All right, so we'll call this record disputes. The description, the instructions. So see here, what I'm telling it is navigate to that site that I showed you and get that record, update the record with the information. Great, well, I'm gonna do that. One of the things that also I'm able to do is to add inputs. So I'm gonna add inputs for things that I want. Let me just add these quickly. That I want the data passed as the outputs of the previous step, and I can use it as inputs into this. So I'll put in amount. And the dispute reason. All right. So now that we have the inputs, this, as I said, allows you, when you're running the entire agent, to take those outputs of another step and pass them in so that this prompt can dynamically update based off of the context of what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then let's give it a test. All right. So we'll say this is the reason. So in your test, you're able to add whatever sample data that you want to test it out. All right, so let's test it. All right, so what it's doing now, as you can see, is it's going to make a connection to that machine that I showed you. Once it establishes the connection with the machine, we'll try that again. Come on, you can do it. It might be my machine. Oh, there we go. So it's establishing the connection with the machine. Once it does, you're going to start seeing that the screenshots are shown. It's actually taking images of what it sees on that machine, passing it back to the model so it can decide what the next steps will be. So this is a continuous process that is happening as things are going a little bit slowly here. Let me just show you also. Let's see if it's connected to this. Here we go. You can see. So I just showed you the virtual machine that I have running in the background. This is now showing you screenshots as it's going in real time, so you can see the screenshots of the machine, what it is doing as it's reasoning through the actions and the automation. It will update on the left-hand side, telling you what it sees, what it's thinking, what it's going to do next. Now see, one of the interesting things with computer use, you see right here, I've got a pop-up Typically with your traditional UI automation, that would break my automation. But because it can reason, because it can think, it says, I don't need to care about that. I'm going to just close that out. I'm going to continue. So it continues on its way so that it can go through and follow all of the steps. So you see what is happening now. It has put in the invoice that I sent it. It is searching for that invoice itself. It's going into the actions. It chose the dispute resolution. It's going to update that with the values that I put into the sample testing. This is just an incredible advance in how we do UI automation. For anybody here who has done automation in the past, you know how often you need to change scripts. With this, you can have the script. And the great thing with these inputs that you have as well is, imagine if you have another site that you do the same sorts of things. With one prompt, you can pass in a variable that actually says, and do this on another site, and it can do the same thing without having to create multiple scripts. So it's going a little bit slowly, but it's chugging. All right. So it was recorded. Everything is good. And it's telling me, all right, everything is good. Now at this point, if I did not think that it did what I wanted it to, I can go back and update the prompt. I can rerun the test. I can keep going in the circle until I have what I want. But I actually am quite happy with this. So I'm going to finish testing here, and I'm going to go back to the agent. Now, what I'm going to do now is to say, all right, we saw what Anjali did with adding in the agent flows into the agent. I'm going to actually add another step here now that says, if approved, then let's use this computer use action that I just showed you. All right. Okay, so now that that's saved, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to send myself an email that will actually trigger this agent. And we should see here that it shows up. And once it does, just like any agent, anything that is triggered, all right, we just got the email. So we can see that it is going to start to run. I'm going to go to activity. In activity is where you can see the real-time updates of what is happening for any of your agents, of any of your actions that you're checking. So you can see here that I have run things before, that it even showed my computer use test that I have done. I'll keep going. This might take a little bit longer than I hoped. There we go. Hallelujah. All right, so it showed up, and it is going. What you can see is both that it completed. I can also go to transcript, and it will show all of the pieces of what has happened. And in the case also where it will go through and show all of the computer use, the screens, as it goes through, much like what you saw in testing, you will see that you will have it available for all of the runs that you have, so that you can easily go back and understand what is working, what is not working, and have full control over your agents. All right, so I'm going to move back over to the deck real quick. So just a recap of what we've just seen. We saw agent flows. It's not showing. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So agent flows is a great way to automate all of your business processes directly within Copilot Studio. Anjali also showed how you can add intelligence, AI actions, as well as intelligent approvals to all of your agentic workflows. And all of this can be added into your agent. And lastly, as you saw, you can manage, monitor, and have full control over your estate. And then with computer use, You saw the ability to add the computer use tool directly to your agent. It's very simple. You saw how easy it was to create this. Like, that is so different, making it so much more accessible to anybody to add UI automation into your agents. You can test it in real time. You can iterate it on it real time and publish it, manage it, and see how everything goes in the activity view. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mark from NN Group to tell us about their journey in using agent flows.
So hi, everybody. So it's great to see so many of you here still. So I don't know about you, but I'm from across the pond. My brain is saying, Mark, you need to sleep. So they put me at the last slot. Well, let's see if I remember everything I want to tell. So first, unlock my machine as well. So I work for NN Group. NN Group is a financial services organization, and we operate in 10 different countries, helping millions of people take care of what matters to them most. Our vision, we are trying to support with finding new innovative ways to build solutions. And obviously, agentic AI is top of mind. As an early adopter for generative AI, which we started in 2021 with early versions of GPT-3, our pro-code developers are already well positioned to build great solutions. They have their tools, their platforms, and well-established governance in place. With Power Platform, and specifically Copilot Studio, we're looking for ways to also empower our business teams. We already have a large Power Platform community building great solutions, so adding Copilot Studio to the mix only made sense. We can rely on the same relatively low barrier of entry and the many tools that we already have in place to manage our environments. So things like connectors, data policies, but also the COE toolkit and managed environments. Speaking about the COE toolkit, by the way, you really should check it out. It's a really great resource. So after doing some proof of concepts, we're now ready to start building solutions. When Heather asked me to speak here at Build, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to talk about? So you've seen all these things that are coming, and what I want to do is to bring that back to what is possible today, and show you a scenario that is very common to most organizations. Likely you will find these types of simple processes, hundreds of them in your organization. So the solution we're going to look at today is our HR expenses agent. It's an early version, so we're still developing it. And I want you to show you what is possible with the technologies and what I did to develop it and what I ran into. So our HR expenses process, we have at NN, we have a lot of expenses, and the most common expense type is a expense for travel. It accounts for about 127,000 expenses on a yearly basis. And to put it into context, we have an additional 39 or so expense types, and those only account for 40,000 additional expenses. So it's not very surprising that the HR team wanted to automate that, which they basically did about a couple of years ago. They went on and built a chatbot with an external party, and they actually saved around a full year of hours each year, which the people can now do less mundane tasks with. For example, hiring great engineers to come and build solutions for NN. But in addition to that, they also saved around 2,000 hours for people actually filling those claims. What did I want to say? So the technology that it was built on is actually no longer supported by the vendor. And so we needed to redevelop it. And in addition to that, they wanted to bring it in-house. And we wanted to fix some of the issues with the agent that you typically find with these chatbots. So things like natural language processing and actually determining the intent of what the user wants to do. That's always a hard problem. But also the fuzzy logic that you will find when you're trying to automate business processes. So you've all been there, right? So a business team comes to you, they have a business problem, and then when you start talking about how they do their work and what types of policies and documents they use to base their decisions on, that doesn't really directly translate to conventional programming, right? So there's always a lot of effort that you need to put into place to build that logic, and sometimes you get these really big solutions. So AI can really help out there, because then you can use the reasoning of an AI model to sort of come to the conclusion by using an AI. But AI is not always the solution. So in some cases, you want to use something that is really deterministic. So you really want to know, for example, when interacting with our HR system, which is Workday, we really want to follow a couple of exact steps before when I'm retrieving data or sending data to that system. And you don't want to leave that to chance, right? Because if you put it in a prompt or in AI instructions, you're basically leaving it to a probability distribution. And yeah, you really want to know exactly when what to do at those steps, and always have the same result. So yeah. Basically what you need is a solution that has both deterministic and non-deterministic solution components. And that is where Copilot Studio and Agent Flows really shines. So you can have the AI features of Copilot Studio dealing with the fuzzy bits, and then you'll have the Agent Flows that can give you that precise control that you need in certain scenarios. So yeah, let's dive into the demo. So let's first look at the overview of the agent. So what you see here is a very simple agent. It has a short description saying that it helps us process the expense claims, and it has some general instructions that tells the orchestrator what tools to use in what situation. It also has some additional instructions to help with slot filling, and I will get to that later. And then what I've been using is still a lot of topics. So the current version of the orchestrator doesn't really play nice with instructions where you tell it to, for example, send messages to the user or ask the user for input if it's not part of a tool. So it tries to skip from tool to tool. So what I did, because we wanted to have a more guided experience, I still put everything into topics. But when I'll show the agent how it interacts, you'll still see the power of AI and where it really helps. So to make the user experience a lot more nice than what you're used to with traditional chatbots on the web that you find. I've added an expense travel policy as knowledge, so the users can ask questions and ground those questions into our internal policy. And I've got two actions, which one is retrieving some of the data from Workday and from our internal IDP system, and the second is submitting the actual claim into Workday. And both of these are actually agent flows. So they're built in Power Automate, and we've added them as an action to this agent. I'm just going to first look at one of those agent flows. So this is a very simple agent flow, and where I've been focusing on the business logic here, so that's why it's still very simple. What you would see if I start to really productionize this, there will come additional business logic here. So there will be checks and balances. I will call out to our key vault to retrieve secrets to actually put into the request that I'm sending to the backend system. So this one will definitely grow. And the business logic that I'm using here, as I'm getting personal details from my internal directory, and I'm getting benefits from Workday. And when I'm responding back, I'm sending a very structured response, which is always the same. So I can really trust that the information that is sent to the agent during this process is always exactly the same. So I'm not leaving it to chance. So let's now go into the agent itself. So when I'm a first-time user, I typically don't really know what these chatbots are doing, so I will have not a lot of context to provide. And with AI, context is key, right? So if I don't provide it a lot of context, I will expect a pretty guided experience. So let's do that. So I will ask to claim a business or travel expense. And what it will do, it will start asking me questions. So within NN, we can claim two types of business expenses. So one is a business trip, and the other one is a daily commute. And it's important to note that when you're claiming daily commute, you can only do that to an NN office. So you cannot provide a target address. You need to choose an office in which you want to do the daily commute for. So what you'll see is that the bots start asking these questions and start retrieving information from you. And it's, in the backend, it's now calling out and using that agent flow that I created to retrieve the data, and it's grounding it also in the knowledge that is added to the agent. So it explains to me that I'm eligible and what my benefits are, and then I need to select the office. So I'll just choose a random office like Den Haag. And then it's calling out to Azure Maps, and it knows, because of the personal information that has been sent, it knows where I live and what the office address is. And by the way, this is not my real home address. And what you see here is there's nothing like slot filled into this topic. So I haven't provided a lot of context, so there's nothing there. So it starts asking these questions and try to get that information. But I don't know about you, but when I use chatbots and I give it information and they start asking me for information that they're already giving, that's the most annoying thing about a chatbot, right? I mean, I think that's the experience that everybody has. So what it has done now is it actually has calculated my reimbursement and sent it to Workday. So this is like the first time user experience. But what if I'm somebody that has been doing this for days and weeks after? Then I'll know what it wants to ask, right? So let's go to an experience where I'm actually providing a lot of additional context. So I'm saying here, on May 10th, I went to the office by bike. Please claim my travel. So let's unpack this here. So first of all, I'm saying to the office, right? So I'm not saying which specific office. I'm just saying I'm going to the office. I'm saying that I'm going by bike. And it sort of also assumes that I'm talking about daily commute. And it's slot filling here. So because of this demo, I didn't say like 2 days ago or yesterday, but actually even that type of language you can use. So I wanted to for this demo to be pretty consistent, but even during testing, like 9 out of 10 times if I say yesterday I went to the office, it will actually understand it, or today, it will actually understand the date. So that natural language processing is really powerful. You'll see that I have my bicycle selected here. And now the agent, for whatever reason, stops. Let's try it again. Thanks to the demigods. Okay, come on. Yeah, there it goes. So again, the only thing I now need to do is confirm these addresses, and these addresses are correct. So this is the Rotterdam office, and this is my home address, and I'll submit it. And it also skips across that question about the bike. So with NN, the reason why they want to know it is because they care for the environment, and if you choose the sustainable travel option, you actually get a little bit more money than if you don't. So yeah, this is an experience that sort of brings these chatbots to the right side of Uncanny Valley. So it's a much more natural way of interacting with it. And then combining these AI features with the consistency of the agent flows, I think that is really a sweet spot at least for my development experience. It really helped me create the solution and build something that is consistent and that you can really rely on. And because, yeah, I mean, if you look at this solution, it's quite simple, but if you look at the impact that it has on our organization, I mean, those year worth of hours on the HR side, and even on the side of the rest of the colleagues actually filling those claims, it's amazing what you can do in just a couple of days of programming. Because this is literally be like 2 or 3 days just speaking with the Workday team. I mean, I think I spend most time getting access to Workday instead of. We all been there, right? Authentication and tokens is always an issue. So yeah, this is what I wanted to show, and I really hope it sort of inspires you to also start looking at not these really big, well, definitely go also automate big processes, but also don't forget about like the smaller processes and the impact that you can have with these types of simple solutions. And if you want to know a bit about how I did this, just hook me up after the session. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. So just to close out here, I think now, as he said, hopefully you're all inspired now how you can transform your own business processes into really making change within your enterprises to achieve those orders of magnitude of difference that Anjali mentioned. Here's different areas. Please read and get involved, and hopefully you can use this information to get started using all of our products. So thank you very much.